Hello, I'm Roberto Baldwin, and welcome to the Stupid Podcast Ideas podcast, where we take our worst podcast schemes, talk about what they could have been, and then promptly send them to the trash heap of hubris. A new podcast will be available every Tuesday and Thursday until people just don't want to talk to me anymore. Today's episode is sponsored by tacos. If you're not eating tacos, you failed at life. Tacos. Welcome to episode number 5 of the Stupid Podcast Ideas podcast. And my guest today is author and Engadget columnist, Violet Blue. How you doing, Violet?
Well, that's a loaded question right now.
Loaded question.
It's like, I'm always not sure how to answer that because insanity. Generally, though, not too bad. I mean, all things considered. I've got a lot of cat litter. And there are, homeless people yelling out in front of my apartment about escrow, which is like a really San Francisco moment, if you ask me. But otherwise, I'm pretty much fine. I spent the past 2 years, in addition to all my freelance work, just working on a book. So I've been in solitude pretty much for a while. Mm-hmm. And I was getting ready to come out of solitude, which was kind of exciting. And then all this stuff happened. So, I mean, I'm kind of just doing a lot of the same routines I was doing before, but definitely missing human contact.
Yeah.
That's something I'm really missing.
The cat litter thing.
It's important.
When this all started, I went to there's a Lucky's near my house that everyone goes to, and then there is a Safeway near my house that is in a sort of dilapidated strip mall.
Wow.
A lot of people don't go to the Safeway, so I just go to the Safeway. So I went to the Safeway, and they had way more stuff than Lucky had, but they didn't have toilet paper, which was expected, but they also didn't have kitty litter.
Oh.
Like, no kitty litter. And I was like,
what's that about?
I've since gone back, still no toilet paper, but they did have kitty litter.
People just like buying kitty litter as backup for toilet paper? Like,
you can still poo. You just have just a bunch of gravel just on your butt. That's not. And you shouldn't put kitty litter in the toilet. Don't put kitty litter in the toilet, kids, because it expands and it clumps, and it's made to clump and expand, so like you can scoop out pee.
Yeah, don't wipe with the clumping either. That sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah, I feel like you just like the rest of the day you're just gonna have little bits of kitty litter gravel.
TMI, my friend. TMI.
Yeah. So anyway, kitty litter. Hope the kitty litter people sponsor the next podcast.
Oh yeah, I noticed you lost your gravel sponsor.
Well, every show is a new sponsor.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, I'm sure the gravel sector is getting hit pretty hard right now.
Oh yeah.
Big gravel.
Big gravel.
Yeah.
Like,
according to sources.
Rocks. I take these big rocks and smash them down into little rocks.
And then sell them.
Oh, tough. It's hard out there for a gravel baron. So you were in solitude mode until we decided everyone should be in solitude mode. What are you doing in addition to already having a system? What are you doing in addition to that to sort of deal with the sort of stay-at-home orders?
Well, I mean, I'm gaming more, that's for sure. I think probably a lot of people are. One thing I've been doing though is, you've probably read about this, that all the like Airbnbs are like empty, like crazy empty. And there's one on my block that's kind of a notorious pain in the tits for everybody that lives around here. I'm in the Castro in San Francisco. And this Airbnb is just such a drag because it's incredible single family home. And it gets rented out usually to like really loud tech bros and, just kind of people that are kind of discourteous to the neighborhood. They'll have like unza parties and stuff. But now it's totally vacant. And it's apparently vacant at least through September at this point.
Wow.
And the cool thing though, I mean, I'm like, put it on the damn rental market already. Yeah. But the cool thing for me though is that I'm in an old Victorian, and we've got, it's one of those kind of San Francisco things where everyone has like a a backyard sort of attached to their really old houses.
Mm-hmm.
But they all sort of open up into this giant shared, like it's, there are walls between our backyards, but it's kind of a shared area. So like when I go out on my back deck, like, I could say hi to that neighbor and hi to that neighbor and stuff like that. But it's pretty quiet now, right? Obviously. And a lot of people too have decided to go shelter in place somewhere else, like with their families and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the Airbnb is vacant. And I can see into its yard, and its backyard, it has 3 lemon trees, 3 Meyer lemon trees,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going insane. Like, I mean, I was just like watching the fruit get bigger and prettier and nicer, and I was just like, I could just, no one would even notice, So I went for it. I put on a backpack and I hopped a fence, went across a roof, and then went down another fence and filled up my backpack with lemons. Came back. Oh my God, they're the most amazing lemons, not just because they're the sweet stolen fruit of Airbnbs, but they're really good. And I've been messaging other neighbors and stuff like that, and they're all like stress baking and, all the things that we keep hearing about people are doing. And so with one set of neighbors, I said, hey, I'd trade you some lemons for, something you might bake too much of. And then when we're all out on our little state appointed walkies, we could just like do little dead drops on each other's.
See, the dead drop idea is good.
Yeah. And it's working. Like I traded lemons for some lemon zest cake, which I ate in like 3 days, and I'm just like feeling huge. And I butchered a rosemary bush in the backyard as well, and made little rosemary packages and delivered them to some elderly neighbors that I know are sheltering in place. And it was so sweet. This 80-year-old woman texted me and she said, that's so sweet because rosemary's for remembrance. And I was like,
oh.
And I dropped some rosemary off with some other friends. And last night they left a casserole dish of homemade mac and cheese on my front porch. So, and it's this just kind of nice way to feel connected and, still like we're part of something, because we all want to reach out and we all want to connect, but we don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of making us all feel good, even though we're not actually able to really talk to each other or anything like that. So that's
this strong community that everyone's reaching out and you're talking to each other. My wife was talking to our neighbors, and my wife she works in the medical field, and so and I had N95 masks from the fires.
Yeah, me too.
And so people are like, well, donate them. I'm like, I got a wife who needs them. But her hospital's kind of has gotten more supplies. And so our neighbors, she was, they were talking over the fence, and they're like, yeah, we can't find any masks anywhere. So my wife just went in and grabbed 2 masks. And I don't know whether she threw them at them or what. I don't know how the pass off went, but we know our neighbors, and it's weird in the suburbs versus the city, because in the city we knew everyone because you see everyone all the time. In the suburbs, we were like the weird neighbors who were like, hi, how's it going? We just moved in there. Because we're still used to having to, knowing everybody in our building and knowing people, who lived around and stuff. So it's it's nice to have at least those connections and knowing those people, and then
oh, for sure. Like I even dropped off rosemary at the corner store, which is, I mean, it's a bodega corner store in San Francisco. It's like the guy who runs it, like I've known him for 10 years. He knows everyone in the neighborhood. Everyone knows him. He's always been like a great source of local breaking news too, because he always knows what's going on. And he's definitely been like helping keep the community together and informed on stuff. So, I went and dropped him off some rosemary, and
cool.
And he says he makes trips every morning. He goes to the warehouse and just buys whatever stock he can for the store, because he's running out of stuff every day. And it's crazy. It's crazy how much business he's doing, because people aren't, they're just going there when they need the one thing, or a couple of one things. But it's it's emptying his shelves every single day. It's crazy.
That's nice. So to get away from the insanity, and probably not really, but still, tell us about what insane podcast idea do you have for us today?
Oh, the question is which one?
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. Let's start with one. Let's start with number one.
I have nothing but stupid podcast ideas, and I have them all the time. Like I have them in the morning. I have them at night before I go to sleep. I try to get drunk so I don't have them, you know, like I stopped writing them down in December. Like you probably know this, but like I was the first female podcaster. I started podcasting in 2004. And I was in Wired and in the Wall Street Journal and all that stuff. And I stopped like a while ago because I was just so annoyed. Just to sum it all up, I was really annoyed. But now I mean, just back to having like all these crazy podcast ideas. So the one that I actually got close to doing, which I mean, it was just like a bundle of stupid ideas in one spot. And it was with my best friend, Scotland. And my friend, she's Scotland Simons. And she's this amazing rad artist and hacker. And she lives in Seattle. And so I never get to see my best friend. And so the idea for a podcast was just this very thin veneer of an excuse for us to hang out and put on amazing makeup and do cosplay and get drunk. And let me take a look. So there were three. I came up with three. The first one was the simplest iteration. And it was just, the title was Pastel Goth Club. And the only thing that I wrote to describe it was Scotland and Violet drink and discuss a thing. And that was kind of it. I mean, basically, like what I was thinking we'd do is cosplay and review episodes of like our favorite shows, like The Magicians, Expanse, Carnival Row, you know, Westworld, like all that stuff, kind of like a previously seen TV. But then, oh yeah?
Go on. No. I want to hear. I heard, but then.
Well, and then I thought, well, let's evolve it a little bit. So I came up with a separate idea for another stupid podcast. And this one I was going to call Witch's Brew. And the theme was that Scotland and I are magicians, like maybe like the magicians, like we're Breakbill's rejects. Anyway, we're friends and we did these spells that went totally awry and wrong and threw us into different timelines. And so once a week we do a spell, and if it was in the magician's world, it would be a Teslaflexion, where we get to hang out until that spell's time is up. So it's all a different
timeline. So it's like a cross of magic with Quantum Leap, and you're both Scott Bakula.
Basically, yeah, but like with really great makeup and stuff.
With really good makeup.
And then of course the parenthetical is Scotland and Violet drink and discuss a thing. So, you know.
So okay, so that's the first one. Let's go back to the first one.
Okay, but there's a third one. But then I also have other ones to tell you about too.
All right, well tell me the third one, then we'll go back to the first one and we'll talk about these three.
Okay. The third one was called Cat Planet. And it's 300 years in the future. We've been in cryogenic sleep because 2020 was so fucking awful. Highly intelligent cats have taken over the planet. When we wake up, Max, my cat, hits Scotland and I with a shrink ray. And so now we're kept in tiny dollhouses as pets. And we basically do the podcast when Max wants to be entertained. That's the premise.
So you're like television for your cat.
Basically, yeah. Like
your dinner theater for the cat.
Yes, exactly. And I was thinking I want to do that too because I thought we could do like a really fun intro where there's like a big cat looking through a dollhouse and like paws coming after us and we're like, and then we run into the room and do our little podcasts and stuff. But
okay, so
there's not a lot of substance beyond that though. Like that's kind of it.
To number one. So this one seems like it's like almost one of those recap shows where people watch a show and then they recap. Like there's one I've talked about this before on the podcast, Office Ladies, where the two where Angela and Jenna Fisher from The Office, they're rewatching The Office and talking about each episode. And they have all this background and all this. So it's delightful because they're best friends and they just seem like really nice people.
Right.
The idea that they're nice people talking about a job they had and sharing all this stuff with them. So it would be that, except you pick an episode of a different show each week. Like what was, or you're like, we're going to talk about The Expanse this week because The Expanse was nuts. Or we're going to talk about Magicians this week because Magicians this week was cursey. I don't know.
Right. Well, I was thinking something along those lines because the, TV shows, at least in the time before the quarantine, TV shows
before time.
The time before time stopped. Like so, the Magicians would come out, and it would come out once a week because it was on Sci-Fi while it was in season. But then when it wasn't in season, what do you do? So I figured we could just like binge watch something, and then just kind of take it episodically and, just kind of alternate depending on when things are airing and when things are not airing, so that we'd always have, so we'd have once a week content basically.
Okay, so that's smart. So Magicians, let's say you're watching Magicians. Magicians is on cable TV or basic cable or whatever, but it's episodic and it's every week. So you watch that when that season is on, and then The Expanse, which is now on Amazon, they just dump all those?
Right, they just dropped the most recent season. So then we could just go do that.
So then you go and you watch that whatever season The Expanse is available, and you watch those. And then if The Magicians isn't back, you can like find another show that you like that has dropped. Okay.
Yeah, or we can go back and watch one we hadn't watched, like Carnival Row or, something like that.
All right.
So, I mean, that's, it's kind of doable.
There has to be a hook.
Do you want to hear my other terrible podcast ideas?
Oh, no, we still have to talk about the other two, because I'm very excited to talk about Cat Planet.
Oh, my God. Well, then let me tell you this other stupid podcast idea then. I know you want to wait, but so I want to do a podcast that's cat fashion shows. How awesome would that be?
Does everyone just show up on the episode with their hands and face just scratched to hell?
Yes.
It's like you got like bandages around your fingers. It looks like
you could do like behind the runway.
So this
like
week
interviews.
Yeah,
like behind the runway interviews where they're like, bandaging themselves and talking about, injuries and stuff like that. But I thought, that would be really awesome, because people are like, dressing their cats up a lot and stuff. And, you could do different themes each week on different kinds of fashion, It could be fun.
Okay, so let's go back to number 2.
Okay, back to number 2, which is
Quantum Leap Magicians. That's the number 2 one, right?
Yep.
So you would have to. What would be? You would do spells. Now, who are the spells? Would it be just to like enhance your life, or would the spells be at somebody? Like every week, you're like, oh, you know what? I really hate Frank, and then you do a spell at Frank. But then it turns out it backfires, and you go back in time to 1843, and you're hanging out with Frank's great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, and or the time, or somehow some sort of connection between you and the person you did the spell, and now you have to cosplay 1863.
That's a good idea.
Every episode, you have to say, "Oh boy," just like Scott Bakula did.
I like that. That's good. See, I didn't get that far.
This is what this entire podcast has been about, is people tell me ideas, and then I'm like, what if you did this? And they're like, oh. It doesn't make it a better idea. It's just another.
I like it though. You're an ideas man.
I'm just throwing more stuff onto the pile. I'm like, you know what? Now, would you have to dress up?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the reason, really. It's just the excuse to like dress up and drink with my best friend and like, be ourselves basically with a whole bunch of people in the room.
Like a radio play where you're but I mean, you're still dressed up, but you're kind of talking about like what's happening, or is it just like, oh shit, now we're in 1863, and now you just talk about things that are happening in 1863, like the war still.
Well, I think I'd want to do whatever was the least amount of work.
Okay. That's what well, you should have done this podcast.
I know.
This is the least amount of work.
It's true. I mean, that's really the thing that's preventing me from doing any podcasting, because, post-production is such a pain.
For a real quality podcast, it is
Yeah, people have these expectations, and I'm like,
you have to wear headsets, and you got to do this, and you got to do audio, and you got to adjust the audio, and then you have to edit everything, and
fuck that.
This thing with Zoom and iMovie and blah.
It's too hard.
It is too hard. It's too much. It's a lot of work for an extremely crowded market.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the brilliance of the Scotland and Violet Drink and Discuss a Thing podcast is that it's really just for ourselves and our friends. You know, I mean, that's kind of been my internal saying to myself while I've been a freelance writing for, God, 15 years now, if not longer, is just, in my mind, I always just write or produce or make my art for just me and my 5 closest friends. You know, like those are the people I'm really talking to, and those are the people I really hope see it. So I'm okay with that. Like, I don't really need to be in a market, you know, or like branding or any of that shit.
Branding. The third podcast, and one I'm very excited, is Cat Planet.
Cat Planet.
So this one is like Futurama, except when you when you land in the future, it's not Leela and Professor and Hermes. It's cats.
Yes.
And they've taken over the world. The cats are now in control, even though I still believe the raccoons are the next species to take control of the world. But the cats have somehow edged out. Maybe the raccoons took over, and then they're hubris, and then the cats were like, all right, fine.
Maybe they might have a partnership going, because the cats in my backyard definitely have a partnership going with the raccoon. Like, they're kind of friends. It's really weird.
You think it's the relationship? Like, they're friends until someone does something wrong?
They sit together sometimes. The stray cat with the raccoon, they'll sit together. And my cat goes out and hangs out with the stray cat and the raccoon, and they don't fight or anything. Like, they get annoyed with each other, but that's about it. And now when I call Max, the raccoon runs to me. And I think the raccoon thinks it's a cat, and maybe also that its name is Max too. It's a little strange.
Your cat's a spy. You know that, right? Your cat is sharing important information with the raccoon and that other cat.
I hope so.
The overthrow of the human race by cats and raccoons is starting in your backyard.
Exactly, because
unwittingly you're the catalyst.
Oh my God, it begins here.
I found up all this infosec stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. He's been reading all of it the whole time. So
yeah, he's just like, oh, I'm just a cat. I'm not really paying attention. Anyway, Max in the future.
Right, Cat Planet. They've got science. Cats have learned to science. They hit us with a shrink ray when we wake up. Cryogenic sleep in 2020, totally awesome, because we miss all this shit.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, we're always stuck at home anyway. Might as well be asleep.
What's the difference?
Exactly. If you're in cryogenics, you don't have to poop.
Oh, I didn't know.
I don't understand. Like, in sci-fi movies, everyone just goes to sleep. And I guess they're fed, and then maybe their ways. Are they not fed? It's like,
it's got to be like a space travel thing, you know, where they
use less food.
Get it figured out for whatever. I don't know.
Cat Planet. We're getting on a. So these plays that your cat makes you put on when he is bored.
Well, we just have to entertain him.
Oh, so you just have to entertain him. So it's just, is it just the both of you just doing this for 40?
Well, it could be like her and I mixing drinks and catching up and talking and stuff, and then we have to we forget, we have to put the thing out the window where the big paw comes in and gets us. Kind of like it. I was imagining kind of like Mystery Science Theater 3000 kind of sets, you know, where every once in a while like a big giant thing would come in and so like that.
All right. And then the fourth,
there's more, baby.
Cat. I know, but we gotta the fourth, cat fashion show.
Cat fashion shows.
Fashion show. You have people on. Who are bleeding.
Probably.
Who have dressed their animals up in funny little costumes.
Yes, or they could do like a runway video, right? Where it's like, here he comes down the hall in one outfit. Here he comes down the hall in another outfit. You know, and they could do their of fashion, you know, the crazy stuff that you see on like fashion runways, like a giant balloon, stuff like that, and you know, theme it that way. We could have like special Halloween episodes where it's like spooky costumes and stuff like that, so people could do like their own sort of like little B-roll trailer thing of a bunch of different things. And then maybe we have like one live, let's try it for the audience sort of thing. I think. I don't know. Not very developed. I literally had that idea, like, I think an hour before we started doing the show. So I don't know.
I think to get people interested, because you show them the cat. It's like showing someone like a cool car. You know, the shows are like, oh, look at this car. And then if you don't like that's a 3-minute show. No one after that you're like, okay. But for the cat, you have to like tell them like where the car came from, the engine. You got to get into all the nitty gritty. For the cat fashion show, I think you have like 3 people on a week, and you say, "This is my cat," or one person or whatever. "This is my cat." Blah. This is the cool outfits, and then the cat walks on the catwalk. And then the person explains or talks about the costume, like what they had to do. Like they talk about. Also, you need to talk about the cat. You got to give a bio.
I think 3 people is too many, because I mean, come on, you get one person talking about just one cat they have, and
that's a 2-hour show.
That is, absolutely. I mean, you say like, oh, you could describe the specs on a car, the engine, the wheels, the weight, the history, the blah, blah, the this, the that. I mean, people do the same thing with their cats, They're like, I think he's a Maine Coon, and Maine Coons are super hairy, and they love to be in trees. And I mean, it could just go on. And then the next thing you know, they're just like, and then, I mean, look at this hairball. And I mean, it's crazy. People will just go on and on and on about their cats. I know,
I think what you have to do is you have to be able to tell people beforehand that they have like a set amount of time for everything. Because if you don't, that first discussion, like, tell me about your cat, that's a good 45 minutes. And you're just like, I'm going to have to do so much editing. And I still haven't found out anything about the...
No, I think we'd have to streamline it. Like, they get 5 questions about the cat, right? Like, not a time limit, but just like 5 questions, and then they have to film the answers before they come on or something.
Oh.
Like maybe make them do a little bit more of the work. And like, you can only answer, here are the questions you can only answer in a tweet.
Yeah.
So it's like so there's a character limit almost on like what they can say. I mean, that could be kind of fun.
Yeah.
But like, and then I like templating it that like everybody answers the same 5 questions about their cat too.
Yeah, because then people know what to expect. They come in, they know that they're going to hear the best information about a cat. And that's the thing, is that people will, once you make them focus, they're going to focus on the best part of the cat. They're going to have the best story of their cat. The time the cat like flushed the toilet and while the dog was drinking out of it, as opposed to the time the cat just fell off the desk 3 minutes ago. We're like, oh,
right.
It fell off the desk. And sometimes when he eats, he purrs. Okay.
Right. Well, it's like, how did you and your cat meet? That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like those kind of questions. And then like then the like exposition we can save for talking about how the fashion show went.
So how the fashion show went.
And I really like having like that we're going to do like one live catwalk, during the show, because it's never going to go well, It's never going to be perfect. Like, exactly.
What do you know?
Or it'll just be like back end of a cat running away in a clown costume or something,
Pulling string, trying to use treats. Cat's like, I'm not. You can't make me do this.
Exactly.
I'm not.
Okay. So do you want to hear the idea that I had before I went to sleep last night?
Yes.
Okay. So the idea I was wondering, like, would be really stupid cool for a podcast is just the most far out things people have bought during quarantine.
Okay. Here, you want to hear something funny?
Are you going to tell me one that you bought?
No. Scotland was just on.
Oh, she was?
She was on like 1 or 2 episodes. I don't know. Time doesn't make sense. Days. And I think one of her pitches was weird things you bought on Amazon. No, wait. Her pitch was weird, like music things you bought.
Oh, music stuff.
Or maybe it was weird. Somebody actually pitched this. Like, what are you going to do with that weird shit you bought on Amazon?
Well, I got the idea because a friend texted me in the middle of the night and was just like, oh shit, I think I just ordered some really weird fucked up shit on Amazon. I'm drunk. We'll see when it arrives. And I was just like, oh honey. But I mean, we've all bought something weird, right? Like that is just like we've just had kind of a crazy moment and bought something bizarre.
And then you don't think about it until the next day and it's too late.
Exactly. Have you? I know you have. What have you bought? What's the weirdest, most far out thing that you kind of impulse bought on quarantine?
See, the problem is I'm not an impulse buyer. I have a lot of weird issues about spending money on things, especially on myself. It takes buying something is like a week, 2-week process. Like I bought a Nintendo Switch. That should have been like, hey, everything's going crazy. You should get a Nintendo Switch. It was like a 5-day process of me like.
And you did a Twitter poll too.
I did a Twitter poll. I had to do all.
Ask everybody. I saw that.
No, I typically don't like. I bought this the other day.
What's that?
There we go. It is a tiny little synth. It makes funny noises. It's good.
That's cool.
Anyway, I bought this because I've actually purchased it before, and the headphone jack, the jack in the back, broke.
Oh.
So I needed a new one. It took me 3 years to buy a new one.
Oh my God. Yeah. Why?
Because the other one was being worked on. I'm like, well, if I just wait, I can just do the thing. And then the person who's working on it was like, hey, I'm going to do this crazy shit to it. I'm like, yeah, go for it. And I was like, well, should I wait? Should I do? This thing's like $50.
Oh.
$50. That's all it costs. $50. Yeah. So that's, I'm not, yeah.
I can't help you.
Yeah.
But you know that the people have definitely bought some weird stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everyone else on the planet's like buying crazy shit.
And you know that they're probably dying to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Like, I can't believe I bought one gross of blankets. What am I going to do with it?
Exactly. I'm like really intrigued to find out what my friend bought. Like, I haven't checked back in with them, but I'm like, I wonder, like, if it's some weird kooky survival stuff. I did a weird thing. Like, I got a little drunk over the weekend, and I bought something that I was like, oh wow, I must be in my feels. Like, what's going on? I bought a dwarf fruit tree.
Like a fruit tree that's just like, oh, it's tiny. It's like the chihuahuas of fruits.
Well, so fruit trees get really big.
Yeah.
Like they get like 10 to 16 feet tall. Yeah, like really big. And dwarf fruit trees are just the smaller versions. They're not like tiny. They're like, probably like 5 or 6 feet tall when they grow. Anyway,
you put one in the house. What kind of fruit did you buy?
Asian pear. See, this is totally weird, right?
Like we have a pear tree in our backyard.
Oh yeah.
It mostly just feeds the turkeys and the deer. We didn't eat a single ripe pear last year. But do you like pears?
I love Asian pears.
Okay.
They're like a combination between pear and apple. Mm-hmm. And they're really sweet. They're not sour and they're super juicy, but crisp. I don't know. They're really my jam. Like when they come in season, I go crazy and I just buy them like from the farmer's market like crazy.
You have the gift that keeps on giving.
That's what I was probably telling myself at the time I hit click.
You gotta take care of it. It's gonna be a bit more difficult than popping down to the corner store. But
yeah, I gotta figure out how to not kill a tree because I don't want tree murderer on my bio. Like,
that's a thing we put on there now too. On your permanent record.
Pretty much.
Everyone's gardening, everyone's baking bread, everyone's doing all this stuff. That's on your resume. What did you do during the pandemic? Nothing? At least you can say, well, I ordered a dwarf Asian pear tree.
I think I'm just feeling like inspired by this whole like being able to do like these sort of Secret Santa dead drops with my neighbors. Yeah. And just the joy that it brings me and the joy that it brings them. I think I was just kind of building on that and thinking like, well, I'm seeing projections that we're going to be kind of stuck doing this for like a long time. So, I mean,
people are going to want pairs.
It's
a barter system. And apparently you're essentially living a real life Animal Crossing. I haven't played the game, but people tells me it's just like weird, cute capitalism.
Really? I haven't played it either, so I don't know.
Okay, so neither of us know anything, so good.
That's a relief.
So I like this idea. I like the idea. I think what would make it fun is that you record the first part of the podcast where you talk to the person and you say, "What did you buy?" And they said, "I bought this thing, Mamma Mia." And then maybe the both of you come up with a couple ideas what to do with the thing. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, we'll get back to you in a week. And then a week later, you go back and you say, okay, what did you do? And they can show you what they did, or they can talk about what they did, and they can say whether it was a success or a failure, or they're just like, I don't know why I bought all those blankets. I made a huge blanket for it. Yes. It's great. I'm so happy. But eventually, people will be coming over.
I know. No one can, come visit the fort. That's the problem.
So so you split it up, and like for this show, I think I have like 8 people like lined up for interviews.
Oh my God.
And then I just space them out on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
That's fantastic.
Done and done. So you can do that. You just you talk to 4 people, you wait a week, you talk to those 4 people again, and then once you have like 5 or 6 like episodes in the can, you start pushing them out into the world.
It's just a rolling avalanche of stupid.
Rolling avalanches. They're just bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like network television.
It's a fitting end to my story, really.
Yeah. And then you get a Netflix series.
Oh God, only if it pays.
They all pay for at least one season.
Right.
I feel like if you just kind of try, you can get a Netflix season for something.
One season, for sure.
One season. You can get Netflix, Amazon, Hulu. If you just kind of try.
Yeah.
You could get a show on any of those.
I could do that.
Yeah, just kind of try. And you could do the things I buy. And, for Amazon, I mean, you're doing an Amazon show. They'd love that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I didn't buy my tree on Amazon, though. So.
Oh, I don't. Just say things you bought. Every once in a while, there'll be somebody who bought something from Amazon.
Yeah, that works. That works. I mean, just as long as it is as little work as possible to do.
See, everyone blew it. I got the littlest work as possible podcast.
I know, man. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, then, so here's my final stupid podcast.
All right, final one. Here we go.
For this episode, because I'm going to have a bunch more soon. So I might be a repeat guest. But my last stupid podcast idea is a podcast where you review podcasts that no one should listen to.
So you just review this podcast. Well, we reviewed Robbie's podcast, and that's about it.
Well, I mean, there have got to be so many shit podcasts. Like, come on.
That's the problem. There's so many. I don't know how you would start.
Well, I mean, you could definitely think.
Would you watch? Okay, I think to rip them apart, you should look at the top like 100 podcasts, and then look at them, and anyone that says VC life or something, finance,
investing,
go after those, because you can rip those apart and every you can go after those and be like totally. You don't want to go after like Phil's Cat Life podcast.
Oh God, no! No, you want to go after like Scott Adams, creator of Dilbert or something, Yeah.
I didn't make a funny cartoon for a long time, and now I'm on Twitter. Oh,
yeah. No.
And on that note, so let's quickly.
Oh my God.
I'll try to remember and recap. Okay, the first one was you in Scotland drinking.
That was like 3 of them, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the first one was that Go Back in Time? Oh, we're just gonna, okay. So you have the one where you go back in time.
Okay, that's Witch's Brew.
You have one with Cat Planet, where
Cat
you
Planet.
move forward in time, and now you are the slaves of your cat, who has lived long enough to get you out of cryogenic sleep because he's like bored, and now he wants something. And then we have Cat Fashion Show.
Cat Fashion
Show. Someone come on, they show you their cat. They talk about the funny little thing that they've made for their cat. They talk about the medical bills that they've accrued from all the scratches and cat scratch fever and whatnot. And then they show the cat. And then at the end, the cat just wanders off instead of doing the catwalk like it's supposed to.
That's the best part.
That's the bleeding's the best. If it bleeds, it leads.
No, don't say that.
And then you have the things I bought on Amazon during the pandemic, or just, it doesn't even have to be, sometimes things I bought on Amazon while drinking.
Not Amazon.
Or just bought online.
Far out shit you bought while on quarantine.
Shit I bought online.
And
it doesn't have to be during quarantine. People just buy weird shit all the time anyway.
It kind of should be, I think, because that's more interesting, because you're just like, I mean, we're talking about like a projection of what's going on in people's heads, right? Like they bought this really weird thing. And I'm like, what's the journey that you took to buy this in the state that you're in your house, you know, or you by yourself or with your partner or with roommates or something like that. And like, you know, why did you buy this banana phone? Like, why did you fucking need that during quarantine, man? Like, I want to know, like this. Yeah. That's fascinating to me. Like, it's the psychology of like what people are going through while all this craziness is going on outside our doors.
But now I'm really angry with you because I'm going to have banana phone stuck in my head.
Well,
2 days.
Could be.
You know what? Ring, 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 ring. Banana phone. There. Now all of you have it, so you can be angry at Violet as well.
No, they know where to place that anger, Robbie.
Like, you sang the song.
Exactly. It's your stupid podcast.
Your stupid podcast ideas podcast. You brought this upon the world.
Exactly. What happened?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on, Violet. I really appreciate it. And I enjoy every podcast idea that involves cats.
I understand.
Even if there's only 2 episodes, I'm like, oh, cats. I also like the idea that you're looking for a podcast with the least amount of work, because cats are a huge pain in the ass.
I can't be arsed, as they say. Thanks for having me on. This is a great show. I've really enjoyed tuning in so far, because it's just nice to see people just hanging out and connecting and talking and stuff, and not have it be a big production, and just kind of checking in with where people are at. That's kind of, that's my food right now. Like, that's what I need. So thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. A reminder, the show will be available. I keep wanting to say air like it's on television. The show will be available. A new episode will be available every Tuesday and Thursday until people just don't want to talk to me anymore. And at that point, I just stop, because I'm not going to force anything. Or I'll have a talk with my doppelganger. I'll just grow like a little goatee, and then I'll record one part, and then no. Oh God, that sounds like so much work.
So much work, dude.
No.
Don't do it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.